Jaron Boots Ennis returns to the ring this Saturday as he takes on his toughest opponent yet. He's called for this, Boots has. Instead of moving up to 54 to fight a great fight against Virgil Ortiz, he said, no, I want to stay at 47 and I want to unify. That's exactly what he's doing as he's taking on Eimantas Stanionis, a fight that is going to test Boots. Boots, who in his last two fights has shown reasons why, hey, we've ranked him so highly and so close to that elite level, but he's also shown us moments where we go, have we put too much on Boots too early in his career? Is Stanionis going to be able to capitalize on these moments that we hold our breath and be like, Boots, we don't know if that you should be doing that. What can happen in this fight? This fight for 2 belts at 47, heck, 3 belts. The ring belt is on the line as number 1 versus number 2 in the division are going at it. Boots called for this. He said, give me a champion at 47. Eddie Hearn Matchroom delivered. Stanionis coming into this fight. He's had his battles in the ring, not being able to even get in the ring at some points. For Stanionis, can he pull off an upset that not only would shock the division, but really the boxing world? Before we get into this fight, make sure you like this video, comment, and subscribe to the Never Drop podcast. Let me know in the comments, who do you think is going to win this fight? Do you think Boots is going to win? Or do you think Stanionis is going to win? But back to the fight. Let's talk about these fighters real quick. Boots, he's 33-0 with 29 knockouts. He's coming off a rematch win against Jaron Chukinzan. Excuse me if I mispronounced the last name. But the rematch was only warranted because of the belt, how things lined up at 47 at the time, and it being a mandatory for Boots. Otherwise, that fight probably shouldn't have happened. Boots necessarily didn't want it to happen, as the original fight he won on 12-0 on all 3 of the scorecards. He won another very wide decision in the rematch, but he showed some flaws in his game. He got hit a lot in that fight. He won. He didn't look good. I was in Philly for that fight. People were walking out early in that fight, say the 11th round. They didn't even stay for when he was talking right after the fight in the ring in his hometown. He was talking in pre-fight he was going to get the knockout. He dropped Jaron. He didn't get the knockout, though, and he didn't look great. He was getting hit far too much. It looked like many times he was pressing, and he lost track of some of his fundamentals. We'll get into those being potential keys for Stanionis in this fight. But for Boots, it was a really head-scratching performance, because in the David Evanesian fight prior to that, we were saying he was getting hit more than he should have been, but he got the knockout, and heck, he got the knockout against Evanesian before Terence Crawford did. So we kind of pushed it aside, said, okay, it was in Philly, he was trying to show up for the home fans, he did what he needed to do. But then seeing the Jaron fight, the rematch, you're like, is this Boots? Is this a fighter who, when he gets into the trenches, into the inside, in the middle of the ring, he just loses his fundamentals and goes toe-to-toe and gets hit? And a lot of people, elite fighters, can they take advantage of that? That's what we really got out of it. A lot of people, they thought we've rated him too highly too fast. I still think Boots is a phenomenal talent, but it made me think, hey, let's pump the brakes on Boots Ennis. But for him, he decided, I'm going to stay at 147. He flirted with the idea of going up to 54, and a very big mega fight against Virgil Ortiz looked to be the route he was going to go. Not the case. For Boots, he's been dead set on unifying and collecting belts at 47, and they're able to do that with Stanionis. Stanionis, of course, a belt holder at 47, 15-0 with 9 knockouts. Here's the thing with Stanionis. He last fought May of last year. So close to a year he's been out of the ring, and that's kind of been the case for his entire career. See, he won wide on all the scorecards against Gabriel Mastre, a fight that, hey, it was good to see Stanionis back in the ring because that was his first fight in over 2 years. The reason being, he had been injured, right? Him and Virgil Ortiz at 47 were going to fight each other. A fight that was going to be nothing but fireworks and incredible. People were saying, these two fight each other, winner gets Boots. See, they were all in the mix at 47. It was like, okay, let's do this. Winner gets Boots. Winner of that then gets Terence Crawford versus Errol Spence. That's how long this fight has been kind of brewing. These three, Virgil Ortiz, Boots and Stanionis were all in the mix before Crawford and Spence had even fought yet in 2023. So they were already trying to line it up to see potentially if that was an avenue. Stanionis gets hurt, fight gets delayed. Virgil, week of the fight. I believe this was on already their third makeup date. Week of the fight, Virgil Ortiz collapses, fights off. Stanionis doesn't have an opponent. Virgil moves to 54. Stanionis is left thinking, what the heck? Doesn't get a fight until May 4th on the Canelo undercard of 2024. Is able to get a unanimous decision. And we see Stanionis back in the mix at 47 with a belt. See, Stanionis for a long time was looked at as, geez, this is a brawler. This is a dude that can potentially cause problems for these guys at 47. But he just hasn't been able to get those opportunities. And Boots dead set on saying, I want to unify. It looked like this was the matchup. Originally, Boots had talked about unifying with Brian Norman Jr., still a great fight, and I want to see at 47. Negotiations came and went, a lot of controversy behind those. Those two aren't fighting. Mario Barrios, he's had a lot of different plans at 47. He's looked good at times. He hasn't looked good at times. We don't know exactly what Barrios is doing. So the two that want to fight and sign up and go against each other, Boots and Stanionis. Atlantic City, this fight is happening. And I think it's a really good fight at 47 and is going to answer some questions for us, particularly with Boots Ennis. What exactly is Boots Ennis when it comes to a fighter? For a long time, I've thought he's a finesse fighter, good counterpuncher, has good footwork, good defense, good offense, an overall really good fighter who's not yet on the elite level, but a fight or two away from the elite level. And after the Roy Main Villa fight, I believe 2 summers ago, I was like, he is knocking on that door, about to kick it down. And then, of course, Boots doesn't fight for a while. Gets back in. I talked about the Avanesian and Karen fight. Well, I had him knocking at that door after the Roy Main Villa fight. I have him in that second tier, a little bit lower now, because there are holes in his game. In particular, let's just get to this fight and talk about ways Stanionis can potentially take advantage of those holes in Boots' game, right? For Boots, he needs to have good fundamental footwork in this fight. There's been too many times where Boots Ennis has said, hey, screw it. I'm going to go against a puncher and let's just brawl it out. Let's just brawl it out in the middle. And Boots' footwork is not there. It's just sloppy. And for Stanionis, he likes to catch his opponents in compromising positions. He likes to use different angles. He likes to use different levels, maybe a jab to the head, jab to the body, and go different angles. And for Boots, if he's not able to get out of the way of times where Stanionis is able to move around the ring, Stanionis is going to take advantage, maybe throw some uppercuts against Boots. I think uppercuts could be a big punch in this fight for Stanionis, who has a high guard. I think if he's able to kind of move around and get around Boots using the footwork, I think having the high guard and pulling with uppercuts could be a good punch for Stanionis. But for Boots, again, the Villa fight is the one I want to go back to, because that fight, he was able to show defense, he was able to show footwork, he was able to show power, finesse, everything in the toolbox that made you go, whoa, this guy is legit. If I remember the date on that fight, I want to say that was before Crawford versus Spence. That was the fight you're thinking, whoever wins that mega fight, they got to deal with this kid. This kid's legit. And we just haven't seen that footwork. And I give props to Boots because he wants to make these fights interesting. And he's been in Philly. He wants to give the crowd something to cheer about. But at times, you got to realize, hey, I'll box, I'll get hit, and not get hit. That's one of the names of the game. And while there's fighters that do it too much, they rarely engage, right? Boots can find that common mix of, I'm going to hit and not get hit, and I'm going to step in and we're going to slug it out, right? For Boots, finding that middle ground, staying with the game plan. And one of my biggest things is when I rewatched that fight back in November against Karen, in his corner, it seemed like his dad was just saying, go for the knockout. I want to see Bozy in the corner have a game plan. I'm sure they obviously have a game plan for everyone, but stick to that game plan. I want to see Boots box in this fight. Maybe not the entire fight, but I want to see Boots box Stanionis in this fight. I think Stanionis, with the high guard, he's going to try and continue to get inside because that is where Boots forgets his game plan and forgets his fundamentals and says, bring it on. I'm a man, you're a man. Let's slug it out. Let's go right at it. So for Boots, I want to see him box. I want to see him throw jabs, beat up the high guard of Stanionis, wear him down, and go to the body. I think body in this fight is where Boots will make his money. That slows down Stanionis, kind of going ahead, because I don't think Boots is going to walk Stanionis down the entire night. I could be wrong, but I don't see it being him walking him down the entire night. I see back and forth battle. One guy walks one guy down, the other does to the other. That's how I kind of see this fight going. Both landing shots. For Boots, he's got to be wary because there's times, again, he'll drop his hands or he'll just go Philly shell or he'll just put one hand up. Like, there's times where he is hittable. And with the defense, I think he does rely on, I'm quicker than you. I'm going to realize when you're throwing a punch and I'll just get out the way. When that's can't be the case against guys like Stanionis. I think Stanionis, he lands a shot, I think he thinks he'll land 3 more on you, right? For Boots, he's got to realize, hey, let me not just rely on natural reflexes to get out of the way of these punches. Let me set it up and smartly have my hands up, and then I can dodge and duck and get away from these punches. Against Karen, he was just in the mix. Karen would hit him with a shot because Boots would just rely on, I'm quicker, I'll get out the way. When these are good opponents. That's not going to be happening all the time. Yes, you're going to be able to have moments against Roy Maivia where he was able to do like the slow-mo, move out the way for a few punches, kind of wind up and then hit him with a couple shots. You can't do that for 12 rounds. For Stanionis, what's his power going to be here in this fight? Because Boots, I mentioned, talked about going to 54. He said the weight cut wasn't the greatest going into 47. What's the weight cut going to be like for Boots in this fight? If it's a lot, does Stanionis have enough power to make Boots, who already might be not suffering, but to a degree coming in to fighting at a little compromise with losing so much weight and the weight cut being tough, is the power going to be able to make Boots go, whoa, I already feel a little weak. I'm going to have to maybe stay away from these inside fights and I'm going to have to go strictly to boxing. Does Stanionis have that power? Again, he's 15-0 with 9 KOs. I don't think he has the greatest amount of power, but I think he does have some pop. So for Stanionis, how is that going to translate into the ring? Again, I think body punching is going to be huge for Boots. I think that slows down Stanionis. And for Boots, again, staying composed and staying on target. Boots seems like in some of these fights, he's like, again, let the fans enjoy it. Let the fans have a good time here. And he just loses track of what's going on. He loses some rounds. I'm thinking about the Karen fight because he does get hit, right? But the problem is with Boots, he's built up these habits where he's winning this fight. There's no doubt about it. But say he's in a tough fight with Stanionis, and Stanionis is able to pull a few rounds because Boots is not staying on track with the game plan. What happens then? How does Boots react if he's in a close fight with Stanionis and he's getting buzzed a few times, and now you got to think, whoa, how do I recover? This is a close fight. Because for Boots, he's thinking in these other fights, okay, I got hit a few times, no big deal. I'm winning on the scorecard. I don't have to take these chances, but I want to give the crowd something. But I'm in a good position. Say you're getting hit with these shots and you're thinking, crap, I'm up around, or we might be even, or I'm down. You're trying to press. That might leave you open to some shots. And I think Stanionis is good enough to counter or see openings in Boots' game and take advantage. So for Boots, how well is he able to stay on track in this fight? I think that's the biggest thing. Really, I don't think there's many people, especially at 47 now, who can beat Boots Ennis. You want to go up to 54, that's a different discussion because there are beasts at 154-pound division. But at 47, truthfully, I like Boots over all the belt holders, and that includes Stanionis, but that's a Boots that is focused. Even say an unfocused Boots, I still like, but a focused Boots, like he was in that Roy Maivia fight, hey, I'd like him by a landslide against a lot of these guys. And I do think not being in Philly for this fight is going to help him. While that sounds strange, I think he was catering to the crowd too much. He was trying to be flashy, show to the crowd a little bit more than he should have been instead of taking care of business. I think being in Atlantic City, he's going to have a really good performance, and he's going to have friends and family, and East Coast is going to be there for him. But I think it's going to be better than being at his hometown in Philly because, again, hometown fights are traps for fighters all across boxing, not just Boots Ennis, but fighters everywhere. Hometown fights are traps. And I think Boots being away in Atlantic City, not having to cater to the fans at the Wells Fargo Center, it's either Wells Fargo Center or Arena, one of the two, in Philadelphia, is going to help him a little bit more in this fight. In this fight, my opinion, I think Boots wins. I'm debating between a late stoppage and a decision win. I think right now I'm going to go decision win. I think Stanionis is going to be a dog in this fight. I think there's going to be rounds in this fight where Boots decides, let's get active. And then there's rounds Boots is going to say, let's box. I'm going to show my boxing nature in this fight. It'll be a good mix. I think it's going to be a good back and forth with Boots really shining, being able to move, hit, and not get hit. I do think Boots is going to not have a fight similar to the Karen fight where he's saying, screw it, let's slug it out. I don't think that's going to be the case. I think he's smartly is going to box, pick his moments where he wants to get inside, really slug it out with Stanionis, and then get back out. I think that's the game plan for Boots against really any opponent, and it would be tough for them to beat him. I think Boots is going to have a performance that's going to make boxing fans go, that's the Boots we know, and the Boots that we were saying has a chance against Terrence Crawford. I'm really excited for this fight. I think both guys are coming to fight. I mean, I've talked a lot about Boots in this fight, but all those miscues I've talked about Boots with, Stanionis has the tools to take advantage and really steal this fight. Do I think he does? I don't, because I do think Boots is too talented, too fast, too quick, has too much power to overcome all these miscues in his fighting game, which I do think he'll eliminate for the most part in this fight. But Stanionis, if there's an opponent, Stanionis is there and he can take over and potentially cause an upset. I don't see it happening. I, again, have Boots winning by a decision in this fight, but I'm excited. I think this is going to be a good fight in Atlantic City. I think fans are going to get a treat with this one. I'm excited. Let me know in the comments below, who do you have winning in this fight? I got Boots by decision. Wouldn't be surprised by a late stoppage, but as of right now, I got Boots by decision. Like this video, subscribe to the Never Drop podcast. Again, let me know, who do you got, Boots or Stanionis? And if Boots wins, who do you want to see him fight next? Let me know in the comments. That's been the Never Drop podcast. I'm Luke Backman. That's all I got for you. Peace. I'm out.